Today I will be reading the book Weather Report, Studying Weather. The AR code on this is 71587. Studying weather. Studying weather is the word we use to tell us what it is like outside. The weather might be sunny, it might be hot, or it might be snowing. Weather helps people decide things. It helps them decide what to wear, what to do, and even what to grow. People who study weather are called meteorologists. They need to learn about how weather works, and meteorologists need to know how to predict the weather. This caption down here says, sunshine and a stiff breeze are good weather conditions for flying a kite on a Florida beach. Studying climate. Studying climate is the weather of a place over a period of time. Rainfall and temperature are two of the things that make a place's climate. People keep records of climate. Scientists study these records. Because they study these records, scientists can tell if an area is good for growing certain crops. They also study records to look for changes in climate. A dry climate shapes the way that plants and animals live in the desert. Meteorologist. Benjamin Franklin was one of the founders of the United States. In the 1700s, he also was one of the first people to study weather in North America. Meteorologists today have special training and modern equipment. This helps them predict weather better than Franklin could. Today's meteorologists need to predict weather for the next day and for the future. In this picture, on the caption, it says, when it is sent into space, the modern GOES series of satellites help meteorologists forecast weather on Earth. Measuring weather. Measuring weather. Meteorologists study and measure weather conditions. These scientists must measure the weight of the air. They must measure air temperature, ground temperature, and water temperature. They must also measure humidity, the amount of moisture in the air. In addition, scientists need to measure wind speed and direction, and they measure precipitation, the amount of rain and snow that has fallen. This thermometer in the Rockies shows that it is still winter. Weather forecasts about storm like this help people avoid dangerous weather. Signals from Earth satellites are picked up by dishes at weather stations. Weather stations. Weather stations are places where scientists gather information from instruments. These places can be found all over the world. Some weather stations float on oceans. Others are in buildings or on satellites. Weather satellites orbit through space. They send photos and information to stations on the ground. An Atlas 11 Centro rocket blasts off with a weather satellite. weather instruments. Meteorologists use different sources to get information about weather. Some of these sources are satellites, computers, and radar. Scientists use an anemometer, to measure wind speed. You don't have to be a scientist to use some instruments. Anyone can use a barometer. The barometer measures the weight or pressure of air masses. A falling barometer shows that bad weather is on the way. A thermometer is used to measure air temperature. A rain gauge is used to measure the amount of rain. Because winds are strong at this weather station on Mount Washington in New Hampshire, chains are used to hold the building in place. Wow. Weather maps. Weather maps help people see weather conditions. The map shows storms, temperatures, and where to find large weather systems known as fronts. A front is a boundary between masses of cold air and warm air. As fronts move, weather in an area changes. Weather maps help weather forecasters predict how the weather may change. Computers print detailed weather maps from satellite signals. Weather forecasters. Weather forecasters. Forecasters feed information about weather conditions into computers. Sometimes these are extremely fast and powerful computers called supercomputers. This information comes from instruments and from personal observation. The computer stores and processes information about the past and gathered from the present. Computer operators in the Department of Meteorology at the University of Wisconsin gather weather information from all over the world. Why study the weather? By studying yesterday's weather, forecasters can often predict what tomorrow's weather will be and weather of the future will be like. People studying weather to find out if the Earth's climate is changing. It is really warmer in the world today than it was 100 years ago. Changing weather can have an impact on many people. Okay, so here we have our glossary. I'll go over our glossary. We have anemometer, which is an instrument that measures wind speed. A barometer, which is an instrument that measures the pressure or weight of air. And we have climate. Climate is the type of weather conditions that a place has over a long period of time. And we have forecasters, which are people who predict things. And then we have fronts, which are boundaries between two different masses of air. We have humidity. Humidity is the wetness or moisture in the air. Then we have instruments, which are tools. Meteorologists are people who study the weather. Precipitation, which is rain, snow, and sleet. Satellites are man-made weather stations. And then thermometer, an instrument that measures temperature. And then the weather, what it is like outside on any day at a time. that is the end of our weather report, studying weather.